The Team VVV Awards 2018, sponsored by Ben Green Racing and Thrustmaster. Hello viewers, and now it's time for the second of our new awards, the Best Post-Release Support Award. Now this award goes to a game which has seen continual improvements year on year, whether it be changes in physics or graphics engines, often years after a game's released. We're seeing a lot of games that are almost service products now rather than just a quick release and then sort of surpassed a year later. Now there are 5 titles which are nominated for this award. Now GT Sport, Assetto Corsa, Race and Racing Experience, iRacing and R-Factor 2. Now I'm joined again today by Martin.
Hi guys.
And Kevin.
Hi.
Hi. That's quite a small hi, Kevin. Hi. Anyway, so best post-release. So thank you, chaps. So so this week, of course, we have these 5 titles which are up for award. We have GT Sport, of course, which is a service-driven game, and it's up for an award this year. But obviously, it's very early in its life. But we've already seen radical improvements from the game's release right up until Christmas. It really has been quite surprising at just how much development has come to GT Sport just in the few months since release. Assetto Corsa continues to evolve. It's very different on the PC to the way it is on console, with a thriving modding community and also a range of applications for it professionally as well. Race and Racing Experience is probably the biggest surprise in terms of it's a game that released by Simbin. It's amazing it's still going. You know, I remember playing videos of it, I think back in 2011, and it's evolved year on year. New handling, new car packs. I mean, in 2017, you had obviously the IndyCar, but you had various improvements, visual improvements and sound improvements and new car packs and new tracks. But you also had triple screen support finally added, my goodness. And the year before, of course, you had Macau. You know, it's great to see how Race and Racing Experience continues to evolve. You had iRacing and R-Factor 2, which are both thriving on the PC community. Of course, iRacing has the Dirt Pack as well. It really has been a year where all of these titles have seen evolution in various different degrees. But I guess really I hand it over now to you, Kevin. Really, just tell me, which game do you think is the one that you would vote for in 2017?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, all of these games have had a decent amount of post-release support. I guess the standout ones are perhaps, well, you can make a case for all of them, but in particular, I'd say probably Race and Racing Experience, iRacing, R-Factor 2. Of course, GT Sport has a number of improvements, but perhaps not as much in terms of content added to the title. But again, it's a new title, so it's not really fair, I guess, in that sense. But I guess for me, it's between sort of Race Room, iRacing, and R-Factor 2. Of course, R-Factor 2 has had numerous updates this year. We had early in the year, we had like the NOLA Motorsports Park, had the DirectX 11 update and the VR update, of course, with Steam VR supports. So anyone with a HTC Vive or a Oculus can sort of get onto it. But initially, it was pretty disappointing, the VR, but they are making updates on that and improving the experience overall. I guess the standouts were the McLaren 650S, which was released, and of course you had the GT3 Power Pack as well. So there was lots of content there, and of course it rounded out towards the end of the year with the Formula E engine pack as well. So lots and lots of content for R-Factor 2. Of course, we've seen lots of more content for the other titles as well.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Because they've all sort of upgraded well this year. I mean, iRacing has a couple of dirt tracks as well. Not that I'm interested in the bowl circuits myself, but it's really nice to see they're expanding to that new texture. And it's how, we've seen all of these various different titles evolve. Martin, obviously, you're not as much a PC gamer as a console gamer in this sense, but what have been your thoughts across these titles? Obviously, now you cover all the news, obviously, and Kevin's been through various elements. What's been your feeling on these?
Yeah, like you said, it's a really tricky one to narrow down, really, because it's been such a variety of updates. I think it's always good when a developer releases an update in response to community feedback, which I guess you could argue in a way Gran Turismo Sport was, since everyone moaned it was an online-only title, including us. And then, of course, we had the massive surprise December update adding single player content, which in many ways did really transform the experience. But my problem with that, though, it just feels like an early access game at this point. So that's another debate entirely. On the PC, obviously, updates tend to be more frequent on PC because there's no submission delays between Sony and Microsoft. But certainly iRacing is quite a standout. Again, some of these updates have really fundamentally changed the experience. Like obviously the dirt racing, completely different style of racing to what everyone else is used to. And like I said, Kevin, VR support as well. That just brings in a whole new audience for it. It's really tricky actually. When you really look at them. Race Room again, that's a very different game than it was when it first released. It shows how rapidly these games are evolving all the time.
Amazing. Cool. It is. I mean, like take Race Room. Race Room's got, it's really developed in terms of its audios. I would say some of the best audio in gaming today on racing experience. The intensity of driving the car is amazing. They've also, I really personally like the force feedback on racing experience as well. It has tremendous resistance and force feedback. And when I was making those TSPC racer wheels a couple of years ago, I did a lot of, about just over a year ago, I did a lot of testing and did some of it last year as well. And it was great, the resistance through corners and stuff like that. And, R-Factor 2 and, iRacing is a good example, of a game that's, simulation that's constantly revising its tyre model. They're improving the tyre model all the time. They're bringing new cars, they're bringing new tracks, and then they're going back and improving those again. There's lots of subtle visual improvements. And, it's always been something that's evolving all the time. And I think that's, as a service, it works really well. And I think for iRacing in particular, 2018 could be even more exciting with the introduction of the AI. That's going to transform it, and whatever the future is for iRacing. So, but for 2017, it really has been, like you say, a competitive year for all of them. So, just to confirm, then your vote, Kevin, what will you go for?
I'm kind of torn between Race Room and iRacing actually. So any of those two.
Me too, actually.
Okay, so you guys are just putting the onus onto me then. Do you know? Well, for me, I mean, I think that R-Factor 2 has had some great packs this year. Mm-hmm. I think GT Sport is in the early age. I think Assetto Corsa
next year will probably
exactly.
to return to.
That's right. I think Assetto Corsa has done a lot, but it's more about Assetto Corsa's community than Assetto Corsa themselves in terms of evolving the product. I think their evolution now is going to be taking place elsewhere. I think racing experience for me is just one of those again it's a gem that doesn't really get talked about enough, really, even by us sometimes, because it's really a great product, and it really is a very intense racing experience, and it's seen a lot of evolution over the past couple of years. And it's been difficult for me in thinking about this award. Is it iRacing with the introduction of dirt and plus all the other elements, or is it racing experience? They sort of stood up for me as being the top two. And then I looked at, this year iRacing's got even more coming for it. And I think in 2018, when we look at the 2019 awards, I think iRacing and GT Sport are going to be head to head in terms of being the best service award for sure. And like you say, brilliant. But I think this year, racing experience is the one I'll award it to. I just think with all the work they've done, all the development they've done, and the support they have from the community, I think it's fantastic. And I think they win the award from me this year. So do you guys agree? Do we have a bit of agreement?
Yeah, absolutely. Race Room is a fantastic product, and it's only getting better, and they're expanding it all the time. So it's really exciting to see what sort of stuff they come up with next year.
Yeah, I think rather than adding new content, they've actually concentrated and focused on improving the core service, and that really works.
They are. I mean, that's not to say things are perfect. And I think that to those who are listening today, if your game hasn't won, doesn't mean it's a bad game. I mean, they're all great. And I think they're all doing a really good job and a service to the racing gaming genre. And they all have their own sort of fans. And we picked something out of the bunch there. And I think that's something whereby we just wanted to get that out there and recognize these titles as well, even though they weren't released well, GT Sport was, but the rest of them weren't released in, of course, in GT in 2017. So that's it for us for now on this different award. But we wanted to reward these titles that are still doing the business years after release and give them some recognition. But that's it from me and the guys, and there'll be more from us very soon. The Team VVV Awards 2018, sponsored by Ben Green Racing and Thrustmaster.